Good evening. My name is Kacper Paradowski and you are watching Poland Daily News. Prime Minister Mateusz Morawiecki announced his new government following the restructuring needed after a period of instability within the ruling coalition. The biggest change in the cabinet is the presence of Jarosław Kaczyński, the leader of the Law and Justice Party. The new governmental team is to be sworn in by President Andrzej Duda next week. Jarosław Kaczyński officially joins the government as the Deputy Prime Minister and first coordinator of three ministries: the Ministries of Justice, National Defense and Internal Affairs. There are also other new faces, including Przemysław Czarnek as the head of two ministries joined together, the Ministry of Education and Higher Education. Jarosław Gowin returns to the government as the Minister of Work and Technology, while Grzegorz Puda will take on the management over the Ministry of Agriculture. I am certain that the fact that Jarosław Kaczyński joined our government as Deputy Prime Minister will contribute to the United Right working better towards fulfilling our program. We also welcome back Jarosław Gowin.
Ponownie, można rzec, pan Premier Jarosław Gowin.
After the entire United Poland party voted against the so-called Five for Animals bill, introducing more animal protection laws, politicians of the ruling Law and Justice Party openly discussed the possibility of dismissing the leader of United Poland, Zbigniew Ziobro, or even forming a minority government. In the end, the Minister of Justice and Attorney General kept his position, but will now be directly overseen by Jarosław Kaczyński. In my opinion, the one mistake of this entire reconstruction was the discussion and things said by some politicians about the shape of the government. It does not look good for them. According to the opposition, the fact that Zbigniew Ziobro remained at his position is a huge win for the Minister of Justice. Suddenly it turned out that Zbigniew Ziobro forced Kaczyński to join the government, so it is a huge defeat for Kaczyński. Regarding the weakening of Prime Minister Morawiecki's position, I don't believe it can be any weaker than it already is. Despite the crisis being averted for now, there are still rumors of early elections coming next year. First and foremost, it was the shared interests and realization that they needed each other which brought this matter to a compromise. However, I do not think it guarantees peace for the ruling camp for the next 3 years. Already in the next year, when it is closer to the parliamentary elections, all of the parties that make up the United Right will begin to calculate what is going to pay off, and all the political games will begin. In November, the Electoral Statutory Congress of the Law and Justice Party is to take place. It was reported earlier that Prime Minister Mateusz Morawiecki is to then take on the position of the deputy leader of the party. News outlet Wirtualna Polska now informs that it will not happen, with the statute of the party allegedly being the reason behind this decision. According to many American commentators, the first Donald Trump-Joe Biden debate in the current presidential race was the most brutal clash in the history of these political skirmishes. Both adversaries did not spare their blows. In the opinion of some observers, the winner of the debate in Cleveland, Ohio, was the Democratic candidate, Joe Biden. According to others, Donald Trump left a better impression. The first debate in the 2020 US presidential race took place on Tuesday. The vast majority of political commentators have dubbed the debate fierce and frantic, with both candidates displaying bouts of anger.
I'm going to eliminate the Trump tax cuts, and I'm going to eliminate those tax cuts and make sure that we invest in the people who, in fact, need the help. People out there need help.
But why didn't you do it over the last 25 years?
Because you weren't president. Because you weren't president screwing things up.
You were a senator. And
you're the worst president America has ever had.
Hey,
Come
Joe,
on.
let me just tell you, Joe. I've done more in 47 months. I've done more than you've done in 47 years, Joe.
During the debate, the candidates exchanged biting remarks concerning the coronavirus pandemic, Supreme Court nomination, and some personal blows about family history.
Hunter got thrown out of the military. He was thrown out, dishonorably discharged.
That's not true. He wasn't dishonorably.
Cocaine use. And he didn't have a job until you became vice president. Once you became vice president, he made a fortune in Ukraine, in China, in Moscow,
that is simply
and various
not
other places.
True.
He
My
made a
son,
fortune.
my son,
And he didn't have a job.
My son, like a lot of people we know at home, had a drug problem. He's overtaken it. He's fixed it. He's worked on it. And I'm proud of him.
Many commentators were disappointed with the debate. Biden is lying about Hunter Biden. The Biden family made millions every place Biden was made point man by Obama in Iraq, Ukraine, China, plus $3.5 million from Putin's ally and big bucks from Romania and Kazakhstan. Time for a free press to tell the truth about the Biden crime family. I started this debate with a white wine spritzer and now I need tequila. Lots of tequila. Doubles, triples. 2 consecutive debates are scheduled for the US presidential candidates, Donald Trump and Joe Biden, ahead of the election. The next meeting is scheduled for October 15th in Miami, Florida. Fierce fighting between Armenian and Azerbaijan troops in Nagorno-Karabakh continues. Both sides are conducting artillery attacks and provide contradictory information on the losses. During a sitting held behind closed doors, the United Nations Security Council called for the armed forces of both countries to stop the fighting in Nagorno-Karabakh immediately. The meeting was held upon request of Belgium, Estonia, Germany, France and the United Kingdom. Since Sunday, the armed forces of the separatist enclave of Nagorno-Karabakh, supported economically and militarily by Armenia, and the Azerbaijan armed forces have been clashing in the world's deadliest fight since 2010. The information on the number of victims and those wounded are contradictory. According to Nagorno-Karabakh, 84 of its soldiers and 2 civilians have died. However, according to the president of Azerbaijan, there are 12 victims and 35 civilians have been wounded. During his visit to the Vatican, U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo asked Pope Francis for the non-renewal of the October agreement with Communist China. Pompeo emphasized that the U.S. State Department is speaking out on religious freedom in China and will continue to do so while standing alongside Chinese Catholics.
Nowhere, however, nowhere is religious freedom under assault more than it is inside of China today. That's because, as with all communist regimes, the Chinese Communist Party deems itself the ultimate moral authority. An increasingly repressive CCP, frightened by its own lack of democratic legitimacy, works day and night to snuff out the lamp of freedom, especially religious freedom, on a horrifying scale. I spoke on this topic last year for a bit, and I paid special attention last year to the Uyghur Muslims of Xinjiang. But they're not the only victims. The Chinese Communist Party has battered every religious community in China: Protestant house churches, Tibetan Buddhists, Falun Gong devotees, and more. Nor, of course, have Catholics been spared this wave of repression. Catholic churches and shrines have been desecrated and destroyed. Catholic bishops, like Augustine Shui Tai, have been imprisoned as if priests in Italy. And Catholic lay leaders in the human rights movement, not least in Hong Kong, have been arrested.
That's all for tonight. Thank you for watching. Stay with us for Poland Daily Business. Good night.